Imagine watching your dog lifted into the air by something you can't see and slammed against the wall. For the Hall family, this was only one of many nights of terror inside their Pennsylvania home. In 1973, John and Margaret Hall moved with their 2 daughters into an aging duplex in Pennsylvania. Their previous home had been destroyed by a hurricane flood, and this new house was meant to be a fresh start, a place where they could rebuild their lives, dream again, and find stability. At first, life seemed hopeful. John even received a promotion at work, which encouraged him to invest in renovating their home. But the moment construction began, the atmosphere of the house shifted. Tools disappeared from the worksite, only to reappear later in the exact spot they had been taken from. In one room, thick black stains spread across the walls. John painted over them again and again, coat after coat. But within days, the stains always returned, darker and more sinister than before. Soon, the electricity began to betray them. Lights flickered without reason. One evening, as John sat watching television, the screen suddenly erupted into flames, a blast so violent it seemed as though someone had hurled an explosive inside the set. Yet when electricians inspected the house, they found nothing wrong with the wiring. Then, the radio came alive. On more than one occasion, in the middle of the night, it blared at full volume, waking the entire household. Furious, John rushed into the living room to shut it off, but what he saw froze him in place. The radio was blasting sound despite being completely unplugged. Televisions and radios screamed at full volume on their own. Drawers slid open, cabinets banged shut, and even in the height of summer, the temperature dropped so drastically inside the home that everyone shivered as though trapped in midwinter. The family tried to ignore it. They tried to explain it away, but the house had no intention of letting them. When the bathroom attached to John and Margaret's bedroom was remodeled, they discovered something horrifying the very next morning. The walls, the tiles, even the door were covered in deep claw marks, as if some wild beast had spent the entire night thrashing against the room, desperate to escape. Voices followed next. Margaret swore she heard her mother-in-law calling from another room. But when she checked, the elderly woman insisted she had said nothing. Over time, the voices grew more frequent. Familiar voices, strange voices, whispers, even cries. They called from empty rooms, hallways, and dark corners, but never revealed themselves. Then came the night their daughter screamed. John and Margaret rushed into her bedroom and found her trembling in terror, pointing to the corner. She swore something monstrous was floating there, hovering in the air, but to the parents, the corner was empty. Only when the lights were switched on did the girl calm down. Though she never forgot what she saw, Margaret would see it soon for herself. One evening in the kitchen, she felt a cold draft brush against her neck. Thinking she had left the window open, she turned to close it, but the window was already locked. When she turned back, she froze in horror. In the corner of the kitchen floated a black shadow, faceless, formless, yet watching her. Slowly, it drifted closer, passing directly through her body before melting into the wall. Not long after, John's mother admitted she had seen the same thing. The faceless shadow was no longer hiding. It was making itself known. For a time, the Halls tried to live with it. The shadow caused no direct harm. But after Margaret gave birth to twins, the haunting escalated with deadly intent. One evening, as John sat with the children in the living room, a strange sound echoed from above, like wood being torn from the ceiling. Suddenly, the massive chandelier broke free and crashed to the floor. Had anyone been standing beneath it, they would have been killed instantly. Terrified, John turned to the church. A priest came and performed a blessing ritual. For a brief time, the activity ceased, but soon it returned, stronger, angrier, and more violent than ever before. Appliances burst into flames without warning. Light bulbs exploded in showers of glass. Objects flew across rooms, striking the family and leaving cuts and bruises. And then came the most violent event of all. Just after another blessing, the Hall family's dog began to bark frantically, thrashing as if caught in some invisible grip. Its body lifted into the air, and slammed against the wall with brutal force. The dog survived, but the attack left the family shaken to their core. They now knew the truth. This spirit was not just a presence. It was not merely a shadow. It was something dark, intelligent, and intent on destroying them. Priests came again and again, performing blessings, prayers, and rituals. Nothing lasted. Exorcism was refused by the church. Without physical proof, they would not authorize it. The Halls were trapped. They could not sell the house. They could not leave. Years passed, and still the entity lingered, feeding on their fear, binding them in a nightmare that had no end.